finalists. We have Femi Taylor, Amy Allen, Lindsay, and Ashley Eckstein. Come on up. How are y'all doing?
Good. Good.
Fantastic. Yeah, we have to share mics a little bit because we're short on microphones. So, oh yeah, okay, good. So I just wanted to go and just have you all say a little bit about yourselves, and so that you can all get to know this panel in case you haven't met them before. Femi, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Femi Taylor, and I play the part of Ula in Return of the Jedi.
Twice.
Twice, yeah. Jabba the Hutt's slave, green alien dancer. And yes, I played her twice.
That's right, yeah, all right. Very cool. And Lindsay, go ahead.
Hello, I am Lindsay, and I am a Star Wars artist. I recently did a Clone Wars piece for the show. You might have seen it in the program here.
That's right. Oh, there it is right there. Why don't we actually go ahead and talk about this piece a little bit. Did you all get a chance to see this piece on the show floor, anyone? So, tell us a little bit about this. Obviously, you're a fan of the Clone Wars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what was the inspiration behind this?
Big fan. I'm really sad to see the show end, as I think everyone else is as well. Hopefully good things to come though as well. I picked my favorite girls for this, and that was kind of my inspiration. So anyone who touched me in the show, that's where I went with it. So
Duchess Satine, obviously, there is one of the main characters, and is there any sort of thought when you were putting this together in terms of composition? Were you kind of going for a Drew Struzan type of thing, or was it? How did you piece this together, and when did you decide to make this piece?
I do love Drew Struzan, and I always tell everybody when they ask me this question, this was actually my selfish piece, if you will, because like I said, I love the show, and I kind of just picked my favorite top female characters, and then being an artist, I did have to look at composition of who, shape of heads, who would fit where, what colors would best work from top to bottom or side to side, and trying to get the lightsabers in a dynamic layout.
That's really great, and what's interesting about this piece is that the two women that played two of those characters are sitting to your right.
Yes.
Starting with you, so Amy Allen, you all know Amy Allen, right? Ayla Secura. There she is. Well, that's the animated version of Ayla Secura from the Clone Wars, but Amy, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So yes, my name's Amy Allen. I played Ayla Secura in episode 2 and episode 3.
And how did that, I mean, that came about, you were working at ILM at the time, is that right? And they came to you and just, so it was a comic book character.
Yes.
Ayla Secura.
Yes.
And they just said, there you are, that's you.
Yes.
Go, Amy. Yeah, it's just, what a fantastic picture. So they just brought you in initially in episode 2, how did that work?
Yeah, so I was a production assistant. I was sort of freshly out of college. And I was a production assistant on Star Wars, and everybody had just returned from Sydney. And I think it was in January of 2002, because the movie came out in May. So it was January or February. My production manager came to me and handed me a Xerox copy of the character and said, "You're going to do this."
It was that simple?
She was sort of, like, feeling me out a little bit and said, obviously the story, George had seen the cover, liked the character, wanted to sort of put her in, and yeah, I kind of just...
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that is incredible. Let me just ask, how many auditions did you have for Ula, and how many did you have?
Yeah, no,
that's amazing.
I got a phone call from my agent saying that they wanted a black girl to audition for this film, but they didn't tell me what the film was. And I had to go with my bikini to meet this director, Richard Marquand. This was in London, because I'm from London. So I went along, and he said, yeah, can you dance? And I said, yes, I can dance. He said, I just want to see you move for a couple of minutes. So he got me to parade up and down the studio, his room, and he said, oh yeah, you can move, okay, we'll call you back to audition. So they called me back 2 weeks later to audition for the part. I didn't know what I was auditioning for. And we did this grueling audition for about 2 hours, and we still didn't know what it was. And I was getting changed, and I suddenly heard this, and I thought, what are you going for? And they said, it's for the next Star Wars movie.
Which was huge at the time.
Huge, but
yeah.
now it was huge. And
Still
then
is.
we didn't know who had got it. And then I was doing the show Cats at the time, and I took the choreographer back to London, and he said, I shouldn't say this to you, but I think you've got the job. But then when I got back to the stage door, I had a call from my agent saying that they've given you the part as Ulu in Return of the Jedi. So.
Interesting. That's so fascinating. Well, I want to introduce our last panelist. This is Ashley Eckstein. Of course, you know her as Ahsoka Tano. So tell us about your experience, becoming Ahsoka. I mean, that was you auditioned. Did you know what it was when you first auditioned? And
all I knew was I had an audition for the new Star Wars cartoon. That's it. With voiceover, you usually find out the night before, if you're lucky.
Right.
And so I got a call the night before saying that they wanted me to audition for Padme. And I said, you know what, I don't sound anything like Natalie Portman. I don't know if I'm going to be right for this. And they said, well, just study overnight and give it a shot. So I went in the next day. It had been a long day. Sometimes in LA, you have multiple auditions in a day. So that day I had 5 auditions, and that was the 5th audition at the end of a long day. And I show up, and they're running over an hour behind. And I called my agent, and I said, look, I've practiced. I still don't sound like Padme. What do you think? Should I try out for this? And he goes, yes. You never know what could happen. So I stayed, and sure enough, I said the first Padme line, and they stopped me, and they said, no, you don't sound anything like Padme. You sound too young. And they said, but there's this new character, and she's a 14-year-old girl, and we think you might be right for her. And they weren't advertising for this character because she was so top secret. Nobody knew that Anakin had a Padawan, and they really didn't want any spoilers out there, so they were being very, very secretive about it. And they didn't tell me anything about her. I knew nothing. They gave me a very generic Star Wars line, almost like I was reading the opening crawl of like Attack of the Clones or something. It was so generic. Then I got a call back, which, by the way, I was very surprised because they wanted Ahsoka to be Icelandic, and they wanted her to have an Icelandic accent, which I cannot do. It sounded horrible, but I somehow got a call back. They told me to practice my Icelandic accent, so I came back, and I actually did. I hired a dialect coach, and I feel like I mastered Icelandic, and I'd say the first line, and then Dave Filoni says, no, that doesn't really sound good. Can you give us something that sounds more Icelandic? And I said, and I raised my hand, and normally I never talk back. And I said, excuse me, but I am doing Icelandic. What do you want? And I think kind of that snippiness and that attitude was kind of what they were looking for.
Wow.
And so I did the callback, and I told my husband, I said, I don't think I got it. I did a horrible job. I don't sound Icelandic. And like a month later, this was over a process of probably 3 months. A month later, I get a call finding out I got the role. I still don't know what role it is. It's just this 14-year-old girl. And I don't find out until my first day of work. And then the first day of work, they tell me who I was playing.
Wow.
And they said, luckily, I could use my own voice. Because my Icelandic was so terrible.
Wow, that's incredible. So, I mean, I wanted to ask you, or Lindsay, or any of you, you were a Star Wars fan before you became involved?